Coming up on WUFT News First at 5, after a series of delays, residents have finally moved in to a luxury apartment complex, but they are now dealing with a new slate of problems.
Plus, we're live outside the arena where controversial political commentator Ben Shapiro is set to speak. Derrah?
Beautiful blue skies with no clouds in sight. I'll let you know how long this is going to last, all straight ahead.
Welcome. First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Welcome to WUFT News First at 5. I'm Bailey Korinek.
And I'm Kennedy Mason. Thank you for joining us. A University of Florida group is hosting a controversial figure for the second time in the last few years.
Political commentator Ben Shapiro was invited by the UF Young Americans for Freedom to speak on the conflict between Israel and Hamas. WUFT's Juan Chaoui is live outside the Phillips Arena, where Shapiro is set to speak.
That's right, Bailey and Kennedy. I'm right outside of the University of Florida Phillips Center, and as you can see behind me, there is a long line of people waiting to hear Ben Shapiro's thoughts on the war between Israel and Hamas. Last time Ben Shapiro was on campus was in 2017, and there were some mixed reviews. Ben Shapiro is known for his extreme conservative views and for making what some consider to be racially sensitive comments. The event starts at 7 p.m. and we will be out here talking to students and hopefully getting an interview with Ben Shapiro. Live from the University of Florida Phillips Center, Juan Chaoui, WUFT News.
Thank you, Juan. A Marion County Sheriff's deputy is on paid leave after a deadly crash with a biker this morning. According to Florida Highway Patrol, the 22-year-old deputy was traveling east on State Road 200 in the same lane as the 63-year-old biker. That's when the deputy hit the biker, who Marion County Fire Rescue pronounced dead on the scene. I'm sending my condolences.
Deputies in Marion County have released more information on a murder-suicide investigation from earlier this week. They say the bodies of a mother and her son were found in a home on Monday. Investigators identified the victims as 57-year-old Kathleen Callahan and 26-year-old Birch Crocker. Monday morning, deputies responded to a well-being check at a home on Southwest 20th Lane. Inside, they found Callahan and Crocker with the gun beside him.
2 people are recovering after their plane crashed at Ocala International Airport. The single-engine plane was taking off Tuesday morning when airport officials say the engine failed. Officials say they had no choice but to glide down and land the plane. The 2 people were taken to the hospital with serious injuries, but are expected to survive. Airport officials say that the last plane crash at the airport was 2 years ago.
We enact the airport emergency plan, and we follow those procedures. We train, we practice. We go through different scenarios.
The plane accident has since been cleared up and the airport is back up and running. Don't put away your windbreakers quite yet. Chilly weather is here to stay.
WUFT's Derrah has more on this weekend's conditions.
Chilly weather is here to stay for now. We're seeing mostly blue skies right now. We haven't seen many clouds, and that's because we have an area of high pressure. Right now, temperatures in the mid-70s, and we have that wind coming at us from the east. Everywhere else, we're looking at 77 degrees in Ocala, 75 in Jacksonville, and 75 in Stark. Now, that area of high pressure, here's where it is right now. Sitting to the north, it is going to continue moving northeast, and here's that cold front that's going to come through and up our rain chances as we head into the weekend. Now overnight, we will be cooling down into the upper and mid 50s. Tonight, we'll talk about those rain chances, and I'll time out the tropics for you straight ahead.
Residents finally moved into Euphoria after several delays, but people who live there are upset because they say it's just not as luxurious as promoted. Euphoria residents moved into their apartments this weekend after a day notice. They were welcomed with trash everywhere, paint clippings on the floor, and many broken elevators. People say some of their apartment appliances do not work. One of the only open amenities is unorganized, and the grills are still wrapped. A student who recently moved in says barely any of the amenities are open.
It looks like everything that's on the rooftop, and especially the 8th floor, you can't even get up there. So the pool, the gym, I believe there was like a campfire up there. All of that you seem to not be able to get to. I see like construction from outside my window on the 8th floor.
Residents say they have not received any updates from Euphoria on what's next. Civilians met at the Thelma Bolton Center to discuss the ongoing plan to renovate the historic building yesterday. WUFT's Caitlyn Schiffer is live in the studio to explain the unexpected turn of events in the meeting.
What was thought to be a forum of discussion turned into expressing thoughts on Post-it notes. civilians gathered at the Thelma Bolton Center to meet with city commissioners about the restoration of the historic building. Concerned citizens were prepared to give verbal input on what they believe should or shouldn't be done. Instead, they were handed Post-it notes and asked to jot down their ideas about the restoration process. There were mixed feelings. Some would love to see an upgrade. Pamela Heath attended the meeting. She thinks modifications would affect the legacy of the building.
And now the city is entertaining all sorts of ideas of how the property should be used. And a lot of us, myself included, don't see it being changed. First of all, it changes the impact that a truly historic building has.
Architect James Blythe believes restoration will positively impact future generations.
I think this is a 50-plus year opportunity, so to make a change now that can impact people for several generations is a big deal, and so we want to make a good choice.
City Commissioner Brian Eastman says fellow commissioners voted for a hybrid option to maintain its legacy while sustaining the vitality of the community.
We'd like to see the building become something that is a real legacy to who Thelma Bolton was and what that space was originally designed for, which is a community meeting space. So you walk in there and you're in the real Thelma Bolton Center, not a knockoff version of Thelma Bolton Center, not a sort of Epcot kitschy version of Thelma Bolton Center, but the Thelma Bolton Center.
It's a conflict that stakeholders want to resolve soon. The discussion will resume on November 2nd regarding what will be done with the center. Live in the studio, Caitlyn Schiffer, WUFT News.
Alachua County deputies are watching driving habits at school bus zones. This week observes National School Bus Safety and Prevention. Alachua County deputies will patrol school bus zones to ensure kids' safety. The sheriff's office stresses drivers remain vigilant and aware to prevent fatal accidents.
Your awareness ought to be heightened anytime you see a school bus because it can stop inevitably at any point and discharge or load students.
From 2011 to 2020, studies show 218 kids were killed in school bus related accidents. Of those kids, over half were 10 years old or younger. Alachua County Public Schools announces a donation to local high school's automotive program. The Gettle Foundation wrote a $25,000 check to the Academy of Automotive Technology Magnet program at Lofton High School. In a Facebook post, ACPS also thanked Gatorland Toyota for their continuous partnership and support of the program and donation.
The University Park Neighborhood Association met with local government and law enforcement officials to point out issues in their neighborhood. University Park is the neighborhood directly north of UF campus that includes the area behind Midtown, which is heavily populated by students. The group pointed out trash, traffic, and party houses. Law enforcement wants to be proactive and educate residents in the neighborhood. They also want to keep things from escalating. UFPD Code Enforcement, GPD, and Chief Lonnie Scott, Gainesville Fire Rescue, and Gainesville City Commissioner Eastman all were in attendance. And coming up on WUFT News First at 5, the U.S. House of Representatives remains without a Speaker of the House. What lawmakers are doing to change that?
Plus, President Biden wraps up his trip to Israel, what the Commander-in-Chief says about the conflict in the Middle East. That and more when First at 5 returns.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
President Joe Biden wrapped up his high-stakes trip to Israel today. This comes after a deadly Gaza hospital blast that has fueled protests across the Middle East.
Based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team.
Data I was shown by my defense department.
The U.S. has independently assessed that it was a Palestinian Islamic Jihad group rocket that misfired and hit the hospital. Two senior U.S. officials, a congressional staffer, and Biden said that, quote, appears to be the case. The Palestinian Health Ministry said 471 people were killed in what it called a targeted Israeli bombing of the Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital in central Gaza. In the midst of violence, Biden's meeting with Arab leaders in Jordan was called off. But the Biden administration is making it clear the U.S. wants to see the conflict end and is working to secure the release of hostages.
I come to Israel with a single message. You're not alone.
Hamas expressed a willingness to release some captives if Israel stops its bombing campaign of Gaza. President Biden is considering asking Congress to approve a $100 billion funding request that includes defense aid for Israel. According to U.S. officials, at least 30 Americans have been killed and 13 remain unaccounted for, though it's unclear how many are being held hostage. At a White House meeting last week, President Biden told Jewish leaders he pledged to put all efforts into their rescue, saying, quote, "I have not given up hope of bringing these folks home."
Congress remains without an essential piece of their puzzle, the House Speaker. This comes after Representative Jim Jordan only got 200 votes on Monday, and he lost again today. The number of Republicans voting against him increased. Jordan fell short of the 217 votes needed on Monday and today. He is spirited when it comes to Republican leaders at the forefront of public policy.
I mean, I think we should get a Republican speaker. I've been very clear about that. And I think that's where the conference is. That's what our rules suggest. So let's get a Republican speaker and get about the people's business.
In the House chamber, Representative Tom Cole nominated Jordan for Speaker, and other Republicans applauded. Democrats are backing House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries
to place into nomination for the position of Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of New York.
As Republicans struggle to unite behind a speaker,
I'm getting calls from my constituents and saying, "What the heck is going on with you Republicans? Why can't you just seem to agree on something?" It just seems like we are, I don't want to say lost, but we're dysfunctional right now.
legislators are trying to avoid a government shutdown that will begin in a month if no one fills the spot. Patrick McHenry is the interim House Speaker chosen by former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. McCarthy was ousted in a House majority vote earlier this month. 22 Republicans voted against Jordan today, and he came short 17 votes on Monday. If he gains support, his voters say there should be a third vote.
Ocala residents, your streets are not flooding. It's the first day of fire hydrant flushing in the city. Workers open hydrants, releasing water and sediment for 15 minutes from the main water line. As a result, residual lime may appear on lawns or roads in the form of white powder. Flushing will occur weekdays from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and continue through mid-December. The city has the hydrants flushed annually to improve water quality. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
And as a result, Marion County is partnering with the Florida Department of Health to bring free screenings to the community. And it's all a part of the Don't Wait Till It's Too Late campaign.
The mobile mammogram unit will be at the McPherson Governmental Campus on Southeast 25th Avenue. You can get your free screening tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Derrah.
We have a cold front approaching, which is going to up our rain chances as we head into the weekend. I'll talk about that timing, and I'll have your weekend forecast when I see you on the other side of the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Look at these gorgeous blue skies, not a single cloud in sight. Now this is going to pave the way for a pretty nice sunset this evening. Right now we're in the mid 70s and we have that wind coming at us from the east at around 5 miles per hour. We're at 76 here in Gainesville, 75 in Stark, feeling a little bit cooler at 72 in St. Augustine and 77 in Ocala. Now this is about 10 degrees warmer than where we were this time yesterday, and we'll continue to see a warming trend over the next couple of days. We're looking at higher wind speeds closer to 15 miles per hour along the coast, and we will be watching that to see how those winds interact with the east coast sea breeze, and that could produce a couple of coastal showers, but inland spots we're looking dry this evening, so get outdoors and enjoy that gorgeous sunset. It'll be cool with the light breeze this afternoon, and then mostly clear skies overnight as that wind begins to subside. Tomorrow we're going to be seeing a little bit warmer temperatures, and tonight as well. We're not going to be as close to those record lows as what we've been seeing these past couple of nights. 81 tomorrow in Gainesville, 77 in St. Augustine, and 81 in Ocala. Now we aren't tracking any rain tomorrow, and we'll build in those clouds as we head into the late afternoon hours. Temperatures approaching average. We were well below average today, and then each evening we're still going to see below average temperatures in the low department. But as for our highs, we do have that area of high pressure shifting to the northeast, which will increase our temperatures just a little bit with that easterly flow. And then we'll have that cold front approaching Friday night through Saturday. So Friday afternoon, we could see a couple of scattered showers, but otherwise we're going to be keeping these mostly dry and sunny conditions. So Saturday temperatures in the low 80s, and then Sunday a little bit warmer with temperatures in the mid 80s and some increased cloud cover. We have this area in the tropics, which we will be watching for those gusty winds and heavy downpours over parts of the Caribbean, but models are showing it continue to move northwest. So it isn't expected to make any impacts to the U.S. as of now. Otherwise, we'll see a slight dip in temperatures after that cold front moves through. And then the rest of the week, we're looking at temperatures right around average in the low 80s.
Coming up in sports, the MLB playoffs are heating up. The Philadelphia Phillies continue to dominate at home, whereas the Texas Rangers were able to steal 2 in Houston from the defending champs. All that and more coming up after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome into sports. I'm Jamie Goldman. Former Gator and Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson is out for the rest of the season. He initially got hurt at the end of a short run while playing against the Tennessee Titans back on October 8th. He was holding out hope for a possible return this season, but unfortunately he has to undergo season-ending surgery on his right shoulder. Veteran quarterback Gardner Minshew will replace Richardson in his absence. In high school volleyball, an interesting situation developed last night at St. Francis Catholic. The Wolves and the Florida School of Deaf and Blind were ready to clash in this district quarterfinal matchup, but the referees never showed up. The teams waited for over an hour upon discovering that officials were never even assigned to their game. St. Francis staff tried to find refs in the area that could come fill in, but had no luck. At the end of the day, the district decided to award the win to St. Francis. This sets up a semifinal matchup for the Wolves tonight against Countryside Christian. On the other side of the bracket, the Oak Hall Eagles will be taking on St. Joseph's Academy with a trip to the district final on the line. Now we move to the pitch as Gators soccer gets ready for a home date with the Auburn Tigers tomorrow night. Florida is looking to bounce back after a tough road loss to number 10 Arkansas last week. The loss moves the Gators' record to 5-5-4 on the season, where the Tigers come into town with a similar spot, sitting at 6-5-4. Samantha Bohan's squad is also looking for their first home SEC win of the season. Bohan is not taking Auburn lightly.
They're just a very clean, solid team that's very hard to break down, so we're going to have to execute at a high level tomorrow to get a result.
First touch is set for tomorrow night at 6 p.m. from the Diz. Coming off a loss in the College World Series last year, Gators baseball is preparing for a new season. Gators baseball has been holding fall practices for a few weeks now as they get ready to begin play. Jack Caglione and company are ready to face the Georgia Bulldogs October 27th when they'll head to Jacksonville. Caglione will be joined by returning veterans Brandon Neely and Michael Robertson. One final note, the Orlando Magic wrapped up preseason play last night. They start the regular season at home next week against the Houston Rockets. That's it for sports. I'm Jamie Goldman.
Before we go, one last check on the weather.
Mostly sunny and cool conditions in the morning, lots of sunshine during the day, so you'll definitely want to get out there and put out those fall decorations. We'll have that cold front slightly increasing our rain chances as we get into Friday, but otherwise we're going to continue seeing these mostly sunny and breezy conditions.
Thanks, Derrah. BBC World News is next, and the PBS News Hour is coming up at 7.
Yeah, but your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.